Welcome to my videos on use of the Italian side sword. Today I want to talk about the defences of the sword from Dall'Agocchie. Dall'Agocchie's passage is very confusing. He basically chooses every guard, he describes the guard, he describes every attack that can be done against the guard. For every attack he describes every possible defence, for every defence every possible counter-attack. And for every possible counter-attack what you do to follow up and then retreat. It's about 40 pages, and not 40, 14. And it's very confusing until you realise that actually there's only about 7 things for the defences, and that the counterattacks are basically boiled down to do the one that makes sense. So I'm going to skip the guards. I'll use some guards in it. I'll mention the names. I'll talk about that in a later video. But I'm going to show you basically what everything boils down to. So you're standing in a position. First things we go through is what happens if someone cuts to your head, right? Cuts to the head that he talks about really are these 3 angles. Cutting high, descending, or diagonal, or vertical, directly vertical, or diagonal. And the most obvious thing he tells you to do if someone's cutting to your head is come to the so-called head guard, right? The head guard, sword across the body, angled from high right to lower left, if you're right-handed, or vice versa if you're left-handed, and covers your head nicely. Most obviously covers from this direct angle. If the sword's coming at an angle, he basically tells you to step slightly with it, so you're kind of covering it that way, step slightly with it, so you're coming that way. So if the sword is coming this way at me, I will come to this head guard and step slightly out. Once I've done that, I've got loads of options for counterattack, depending on where it happens to be. For all of these, just do whatever counterattack makes sense. Other options you got are coming to the thrusting guard positions, as I would call them. In Dall'Agocchie's money, this is called the entering guard. This is the face guard. It's reversed in every other system. That's what Dall'Agocchie uses. And again, this isn't going to work for something coming directly down on top of me, but I can come here, I can come here. Oh, he also has Alicorno, which works for some of these, which is like head guard, but point directed at the friend, at your opponent. And essentially, sword's coming here, I'll come here. The thrust is the obvious, defense from that. So, sword's coming toward upper angles. Essentially, we are sticking the sword in the way using one of his 4 high guards, entering Alicorno, face, head, appropriate footwork to get us at the right angle, hit him afterwards. Moving down. This could be a sword being thrust at me. This could be sort of horizontal strikes, and this can be rising strikes, right? And the answer for all of those is what's called a half cut. We do a cutting motion on top of the sword. Little descending cut, called a half cut because we're not going all the way through. We're cutting to a middle position, to what we call a narrow guard, right, with point of presence. This is a half tempo cut, or a half cut, and it comes down on top of the sword. Once again, stepping away from the sword can change the angle, so if it's a very central strike, just cutting down on top might not be enough. We might need to step away. If it's quite a lateral strike, we can come down on top. A half cut. So again, that works against thrusts, that works against rising cuts with either true or false edge, that works with kind of lower horizontal strikes, it doesn't work so much the higher up you get. Number 3. This works actually against a lot of the things we just described. It works against thrusts, it works against descending cuts. Timing is a bit harder. And it is very similar to sticking this sword in the way and then defending. So we just do, and then the counter-attacking, instead we just do it all in one go. So-called counter thrust, right? Works against thrusts, does work against some higher cuts. The angle is slightly harder. It is harder than number 1, right? But it does mean you get your counter-attacking at the same go, so it's harder for them to defend. The difficulty for you is offset by the greater difficulty for them, which is pretty common if you think with a lot of these things. Number 4. This is more likely to come up if you start in a low guard. and the sword is coming over the top of your sword. Number 4 is essentially, sword's coming here, we use a rising cut, beat into the sword, to knock it out of the way, come back with our counter attack, right? I personally, isn't to say this, but I personally find from my left much easier on this one than on the right. I find the right much weaker with single-handed swords, but this rising beat, you know, just to grab it from both sides, and you can just kind of knock it out of the way, come back in with whichever counter attack you want. Okay. You're not really going to be doing that if I'm kind of up here. You're not really going to be going under here. It'll be going down top. So that does sort of assume that you're going to be in a lower guard. Number 5. Much like counter thrusting is a variant of a number 1. So I said 3. I'm doing this in random order, by the way, in a particular order. We have a variant of this rising strike and a half cut, to be honest, which is essentially strikes coming in, run away, and hit their hands. In this context, your defensive action is just run away, but at the same moment, we will strike the hands. Rising cut works, half cut works, right? We might run away backwards, we might run away slightly to the side, because bear in mind there's a potential, you know, kind of some hand protection. You probably need to do back and out a little bit to get around that, but fundamentally it is run away, hit the hand in the same tempo. Number 6. This assumes you're in so-called narrow guard. Sword relatively low, point forward. Okay. It also assumes your opponent is attacking your leg. Kind of 2 variants of this, but basically it's parrying with a sword, right? I might either cut into the sword, as I'm coming false edge down here, bringing it across, so the sword's coming on that side, and defending my leg that way. If the sword coming on that side, defending my leg that way. Or you might simply drop the point. I prefer the cutting action. I actually think it's faster, because you're putting more force into it, and I think it's better. You're more likely to meet it in the right place. I never really get this to work. This one I get to work occasionally. Not as much as I would like, if I'm honest, but it does work much better for me. And that brings me to the last one, which I've kind of touched upon already as a single tempo defense, but the other option is to essentially just not be there, right? So, you know, particularly for the leg, move out of the way, or just come away, and then immediately come back in, essentially defending with your body. So, short version, right? There are basically 7 things you can do to defend. 1, stick your sword in the way, and then counterattack. 2, I'll do a different order this time. 2, stick your sword in the way and counterattack. 3, descending half cut on top of the sword. 4, rising half cut beneath the sword. This one doesn't work very well. That one works okay. 5, if they're striking the leg, cut downwards or merely drop the point to block the sword. 6, run away with as little movement as you can. And 7, run away while doing a half cut to the hand, to the hand, either rising or descending, depending on what position you're in. Summarize 14 pages in 30 seconds. That last one in particular comes up a lot in Dall'Agocchie. It's his help, I'm in danger, get out, move, sees the sword coming, doesn't know what to do, run away and hit the hands, job done. Thanks for watching. I'm going to try and do a few more of these to explain other aspects of Sidesword in a way that I think is simpler than the originals explain them themselves. If you like this type of video and you value my work, I do it for free. You can go to my website, there's a link below, and give me a little tip for saying thank you for this kind of video. And hopefully, if I get a lot of those, I'll do more of them.